There it is.
I love
There
that
it
beat.
is.
I love that beat.
There it is. And we are back for another episode of Old Man Therapy. Now, we interview all kinds of people. We interview people that are experts in the field of finance. We interview people that are experts in religion. We interview people that are experts in history. We even go interview people that'll tell you how to pick a nice bottle of wine.
Mm.
Today, I'm going to interview my partner in crime since, dude, I don't even want to say the year.
Yeah. We ain't gonna
I'm
even
going to
go there.
interview my co-host, Mr. Devonn Wilton Baker,
Yes,
who is a
sir.
graduate. He is a graduate of Morehouse
The
College,
host.
Atlanta, Georgia. He is a graduate of University of Central Florida's MBA program. He is the president of the Greater Boston Area Morehouse College Alumni Association, and they go and party in Martha's Vineyard every summer.
Mm-hmm.
He is a proud member of the Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity Incorporated
Yo.
Pi chapter.
And Boston alumni.
And Boston alumni. He is Mr. Devonn Wilton Baker. Wait, I left another accolade out. He has a child at Howard University with a 4.0. Boom. That might be the biggest one.
That's the biggest thing, man.
Yes.
Wilton Devonn Baker. I'm a little bit of everything there. It's all good.
Yes. And today, Wilton, when we started Old Man Therapy Podcast, I said, you know what, Bake, I want to talk to you because Wilton, you are, or Devon, I'm sorry, I'm going to call you Devon. Did I call you Wilt? When we were kids, I think I called you Wilton.
Wilt. Yeah, everybody called me Wilt when I was a kid, like elementary
You used to
school.
call me Tom, and I hated it. You the only person I let call me Tom.
I don't think I ever called you Tom.
You used to call, no. You used to call me, hey, Tom. This is when we were like in elementary.
Oh, yeah. Well,
You used to call me Tom, and you're the only person I have ever let call me Tom. But anyway, let's get out of that. Anyway, I said, Bake, I want to talk to you about the fact, that you are highly educated, undergrad, banking and finance, Morehouse College, grad, MBA degree from University of Central Florida, the Knights.
Yeah.
And you ended up being an entrepreneur. Now, with the cost of education, did you need all these degrees to do what you do right now?
For me, probably. Maybe not. But it added to my life's journey, and I think it was so special just to be able to go to Morehouse and kick it and get an education. Notice I said kick it first and then get education. It was important because think about it, Tommy. When we were both young, we were in high school. We were like, we always wanted to go to a college, probably a black college, and maybe a bigger city. We want to get the hell up out of Winter Park and Eatonville. We want to get the hell up out of the Orlando area. That's what we always said. And we didn't want to go to FAMU because we thought that'd be like going to high school, but just a little bit larger. Because everybody was either going to FAMU, University of Florida, that we knew. And so we wanted to get out. So going to Morehouse was so that was special. So and then, I learned a lot. I learned how to hustle. I wasn't really a hustle. I didn't need to really hustle for a whole lot when we were growing up, and I learned how to hustle, and so I learned that hustle. And then going to UCF, just kind of, cemented some things, really taught me some advanced things, as far as finance and really understanding finance, marketing, and so many different other things. So I think it really helped me. Did I really need to be an entrepreneur? Do you really need to go to college? There's so many successful guys, men and women who are successful entrepreneurs who never graced the yard, so to speak, whether, it's a PWI or HBCU. But you have so many who have. So I just think it just probably added to the journey.
I got you. And which I definitely agree. As someone who's known you so long, I watched as you grew and the way you did things changed as you went through these different degrees and everything. Even before you left Orlando, like when you graduated from college and came back to Orlando, you always were very entrepreneurial. Everything
Yeah.
that you did was you were I think you were doing parties at one point in
Yeah.
Orlando. I wasn't living there the whole time, so I didn't see everything. Um, Even the jobs that you were trying to pick were very entrepreneurial. I think at one point you were trying to get your Series 6 because
Yeah.
you were working for a stock company.
Yeah.
Um, so which is a very entrepreneurial type in any job where you're doing sales of some kind and you basically living off of commission is entrepreneurial. That
Yeah.
basically, yeah,
Yeah.
that's
It
you
is.
living off yourself.
Yeah.
Um,
I was
Basically,
terrible at that. I'm not terrible. I was terrible because I do not like cold calling. Um, I don't understand, and and I always end up doing something like that because I even get when I got into real estate, and you were the one who told me I need to get my license in real estate. He's like, Devon, if you get your license, you're able to do X, Y, Z. And I'm like, eh. But I get my license, and then I'm up here trying to cold call people, trying to find, properties that I can list and all that. That's not my forte. That's not my
it's
thing.
not your skilo. I understand
That's not my
because
skilo.
I've had numerous jobs. I mean, I was basically before got into insurance. I was sales, and I didn't do a whole lot of cold calling. I always found a company that I figured because of their name would bring in
Hmm.
customers. So I didn't really have to cold call a lot of people. But even the customer come in, you still got to sell them. But you got a little bit of an advantage when you're working for bigger mortgage companies or bigger insurance companies that already have a name. It's a lot easier.
Well, but see, Tommy, you can talk the web feed off a frog. You know what I'm saying? And so that's the difference. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I'm kind of good at that, a little bit, but I just can't go in and do it. You're really good at that. Now,
Well,
I am good at closing. That's one of the things
yeah.
that usually like with the alumni association, with the Greater Boston
Hmm.
Morehouse College Alumni Association. I'm good at getting sponsorships or what have you. I've been pretty successful at that. So, you can get
Hmm.
me on the phone in the room, I can help close. But I'm not saying I'm the best closer. It's just that sometimes some things are just, within my skill set.
Exactly. I mean, honestly, closing is how many times you going. I mean, regardless of what you're doing, whether you're sales or what you're talking about, how many times you going to ask for it?
Yeah,
Because honestly, on average, you got to ask for whatever it is you want at least 5 times
at
on
least,
average
at
before you
least,
get it. Yeah.
at
So
least,
if you're in sales right now, you're just starting out, ask for the sale at least 5 times.
at
Don't let
least,
them leave until you've asked 5 times.
at least 5 times, and every no
Mhm.
is one step closer to a yes.
Exactly. But let's back it up a little bit. Let's get into it. So tell me, Devon, what actually motivated you to pursue an MBA in the first place?
I lost a job, and I
Really?
didn't.
What job
Yeah,
did you lose?
yeah.
Which job was this?
So, lost a couple jobs, man. I mean, yeah, I've been unemployed a few times, and I
Did you
was
lose a job or did you quit?
no, I lost a job, man.
Okay.
So the last one I lost, I was working with Commonwealth of Massachusetts. I was working in the Bureau of Community Health and Prevention. Yeah, Bureau of Community Health and Prevention, and then
Hmm.
they transferred me to another thing, like a children's hospital type situation, and they let me go. They let me go the day before Thanksgiving.
Mm.
You know,
But this is after your MBA. If you're in Boston, you've already
yeah. This is after my
yeah.
MBA.
Hmm.
So when I moved to Boston, I got hired by Polaroid. When I moved to Boston in July of 2001, because of Polaroid. They brought me up everything, great position. About 5 months later, they went bankrupt.
I mean, Vaughn. I mean, it was Polaroid, and I mean,
Yeah,
we have phones that can take.
yeah, but 2001, we didn't have phones that can take pictures.
But
But
even then, we
you
already had
had
digital cameras.
you
We
had
already had
digital
digital
cameras.
cameras.
You had digital
Yes, we
cameras. You
did.
had digital
Because
cameras.
I think I said that when you decided to move to Boston. I said,
Yeah,
"You do understand there's digital cameras, right?"
no,
And you were like, "No, Tom."
no, you didn't say nothing like that.
Yes, I. Okay,
The
all right.
devil
We
is a
gonna we
liar.
gonna do some revisionist
Yeah,
history. That's fine.
See
But
the thing
when
about
you
this,
tell,
both of us are contrarians. So
I
what?
got you. Yeah, you
Yeah,
feel like I don't give a fuck. I'm gonna do it.
I need to get the hell up out of Central Florida.
Okay, all right. Let's back up. Hold on, because you trying to get my interview out of control. I'm trying to bring my interview back.
So
Why did you decide this? You're still in Florida. You're working here in Central. Well, I'm not in Central Florida, but you're working in Central Florida. What made you decide? What you had to go on the computer somewhere? I don't even know if it's computer then, but you went somewhere and said, "I'm about to apply and go to UCF MBA program." What
so
made you do that?
so the reason why I applied, well, one of the reasons why is because of my Morehouse experience.
Hmm.
I was a business. I was in, I was a business major. I was banking and finance. Everybody who's at Morehouse was doing banking and finance. They were getting these sweet jobs somewhere in the Northeast, or what have you. And everybody was talking about going to B school. So
Mm,
I didn't know nothing about going to the grad school as far as business. All my family went to went to med school.
yeah.
I have two sisters, two brother-in-laws who went to med school. So I didn't really know nothing about, you can go. I knew about graduate school, but I didn't know about
Hmm.
business school. And so I was like, oh, that's kind of dope. And so I applied to different. And my goal was to go to not only get an MBA but also get a law degree. Because I was thinking about that as well. Well,
JD.
um,
Yeah.
yeah, I wanted to do that, the JD MBA thing. And then I was working at the time for the state of Florida, and I could get my MBA basically for free because University of Central
Oh,
Florida is a state school, and I
there
got
you
my
go.
MBA. Only thing I had to do is pay for books, so I figured that out.
Mm,
And then and my grades weren't that great coming out of Morehouse, so I had to talk to the dean and figure out a way. They let me in on a temporary basis. Oh, I talked my way in, bro. They let me in on a temporary basis. They're like, you can't get no C's. I was like, you bet it up, and that's what I did, bro. Hey man, I got in, and then while I was there, they didn't at that time. The B school was still, it wasn't really new, but they didn't have, it wasn't Harvard or Yale or anything like that.
yeah.
And they didn't really have a true, at that time, career services type thing. So you had to kind of, work and try to set up your own internships and all that. So I taught the dean into, there was a National Black MBA Association conference in Chicago. So I
Mm.
taught the dean into letting me go and then pay for it.
What?
Yeah. Yeah. So I got, I was able to talk the web foot off of frog. And they paid for me. And while I was there, I was hustling, man. I was talking to everybody, and then Polaroid was like there, and they had this big booth. I was like, well, shoot, I have a Polaroid camera at the crib. I know a little bit about Polaroid. Let me go holler at them. And I went to holler at them. It was it was mostly black people. Of course, it was National Black MBAs. And I
Yeah.
remember this, it was Penny Williams. She was there, and she's a Delta, and I was talking to her and everything. And, they like my game. And they're like, well, we want to bring you back for an interview. Basically, we want to bring you on the Polaroid. So I was like, cool. Went back to Florida, flew back home, and then they brought me in for an interview, second interview, and I got the job. So once I graduated from UCF, I was moving to Boston,
Hmm.
and I was there. So again, I was there for 5 months. They go bankrupt. But luckily, while I'm there, I meet one of the executive vice presidents of Polaroid. His name is John Jenkins. He's a Kappa. And
Mm.
so, they started letting everybody go. And of course, I was the last hired, so I'm the first fired.
Out. Yep. First out the
Yeah.
door.
And John was leaving too. And I guess, he got his little, bag and everything. So he ended up starting. So I got let go. Same thing. I got let go like the week of Thanksgiving.
Mm.
Yeah, why do you want to let people go on the holiday Thanksgiving? I'm supposed to be giving thanks, right? And here they gonna let my ass go. That ain't right. So John Jenkins starts. He buys into this insurance agency and hires me to be his director of operations or operations manager for this insurance agency called West Insurance. And him and his friend was actually the owner of West Insurance in Philly. And this guy
Mm.
named his last name is West. I don't remember the first name. And his son ran at Kobe West. I remember Kobe because he's around our age. And
Hmm.
so I'm like, man, they making a lot of money doing this insurance thing. And I've always kind of wanted to be an entrepreneur, have my own business. And so I was just watching a year. I worked with him for a year, and then he introduced me to this other young man, gentleman. who was like a trustee at St. Paul AME Church. And I
Mm-hmm.
like, he's like, man, you should go work over there. I'm like, I don't want to work for no church, man. Nah, well, I'm gonna work for a church. But this was the largest church in Cambridge, right? One of the
Okay.
largest AME churches in the whole area. So I
Mm-hmm.
like when they said AME, I was thinking about you because you grew up in the AME church and everything,
I did.
and
Yes, I
and all
did.
that. So and this church had
Mount Olive,
Mount
if
Olive
anybody.
AME in
Yeah.
Orlando,
Yep.
where
You
Hattie
probably
and
go.
Tommy,
Yeah.
and this church had like about 4 or 5 buildings. So they want me to come in and be their director of operations, which means I was going to be over all the facilities. So I was the facilities manager. I was the CFO. I was the COO. I was helping working with ministries on some of their
Mm-hmm.
projects and stuff. So I was doing everything, and which was dope. And I learned so much there. The politics of working with 3 boards, working with the pastor, working at church, a larger church, it was fun. It was interesting. It tested my faith.
I bet.
And so yeah, so it was really, in a way, it was very entrepreneurial.
Okay. But
I,
hold on back.
yep.
I know you started to tell your story. Once again, you're a terrible interview. You always have been. You just go off on tangents. Listen to my questions. Any
Uh
audience, I'm just messing with him. The thing I want people to get from what Devon is saying, his long-winded
oh.
answer,
See, here we go. Here we
his
go.
long-winded answer. Every time he says, "Okay," and then I met this woman named da 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 da. This brother can network with the best of them. One thing that hanging out with Devon taught me is how to talk to people. You might say I can talk to whatever, whatever, but when we were younger, I was scared to talk to anybody until we got in high school. I guess you started driving first. Whenever one of
No,
us started driving,
you drove first.
no, you had the Mustang. You
No,
had
you drove first because you called me up on the phone. You wanted to go
That's
see a
right. I
movie.
had that
You're like,
Pinto.
you
I
had the
had
Pinto, and you're like, hey, man, your old ass can get us into this rated R movies. You need to come with us. Your old looking ass.
so, but anyway, once we both were mobile and we can get around, hanging out with Devon taught me how to talk to people. That you can't be scared. You gotta just gotta talk to people. And that's one thing I think I want my audience to get, or our audience to get, is regardless of the MBA, that's a skill. That's a talent. And if you have that kind of talent to know how to network, you can monetize it. But let's go to the next question.
Yep.
So, kind of talk to me about, like, and I've never been in an MBA program. I have no idea what they teach you. I've seen the book where you can read about it and they say, "Hey, MBA in a book or whatever, MBA for dummies," all that kind of stuff. What do they actually teach you? What are some of the key things that you learned in that program that you feel like was useful in starting your own business?
I think it taught me many different disciplines. So finance was the key discipline because I went there for finance. So I understand how money moves. I understand how you know, to add, subtract, multiply, solve problems.
Mhm.
Basically, an MBA teaches you how to solve problems.
Okay.
That's
Okay.
that's basically what I would say. To me, that's the biggest takeaway. It taught me how to solve problems and how to connect. And so I figured out how to solve quite a few problems while I was working on my MBA, and was very successful at it. And then I used that skills everywhere I went afterwards.
And when you say solve problems, and I mean, I understand. You probably can't just, okay, this is what you do. But when you say solve problems, you're saying that during that MBA process, you learn that when you're faced with a problem, that you, Devon Baker, can figure it out? Or did you actually learn steps to solve problems? Like, okay, when I have a problem, this is the first thing I do.
Yeah, so it doesn't always look the same.
Mm-hmm.
You just, so like in my finance classes, I had to really learn okay, how do I get from this point and figure out all of this stuff so I can get here or there, whatever. I mean, so basically, there's formulas and how to solve, equations, how to solve different problems or what have you. And so I use those equations and sometimes different type of equations to solve different type of problems. So I understand, well, okay, this is what this problem is. So you know what? This equation is going to work for this. And the equation is not always a mathematical type equation. You know what I'm
Mm,
saying? But it's a different equation for what I need to do. So one thing I learned, especially at Morehouse, and they taught us, was that math is the universal language, right?
mm,
Any you don't have to speak the same language, but if you know math if you're an engineering major, you use what math. History students, you don't even realize that you use math, you use equations. You're always, English, you're using some type of, you really don't always realize it. You're using some type of equation. So I'm always figuring out, okay, what's this? What's the equation? This person don't like me. This person over here does this is doing something else. How can I bring this together and make it work? What's the equation I'm solving in my head? And that's how I look at different problems.
I got you. And I mean, I guess going through the NBA, you ran into problems, and over time, I guess you're kind of saying, hey, over time, you just learn to solve problems. Like
Yeah.
the first
Yeah.
time you get a problem that you think you can't figure out, I'm sure is, oh crap, what am I? But
I,
as you run into problems, you
then I
learning to solve them, even if they're different type of problems, you get that confidence.
exactly. Or I find someone to solve that mug.
Once again, resources. You're learning, hey, I can use
Yeah.
my resources.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, to me, what you're talking about is no different than what athletes do when they practice.
Exactly.
You know, tennis players. I'm working his forehand. I'm working his forehand. I'm working his forehand. So when I'm playing in a game, this guy hits to my forehand, I'm about to kill this shot because I've practiced 1,000 times.
Right.
I got it.
Right.
Same thing with the NBA, helping you to learn how to solve problems once you got into basically, I guess at that time you're going to corporate America, correct?
Yeah. And then I also had, so when I moved to Boston, I only knew one person, this cat named Khalil Bird, who was actually my line brother. And
Mhm.
Khalil, he's just natural when it comes to politics and connecting with people. He's a connector. And I learned, I always had that kind of skill, but, I kind of got a master class watching him and other people who are connectors.
Mhm.
And I also realize I'm a natural connector. If I know someone and someone needs something, I connect them. That's also an equation, you know, that's problem solving because you're putting people together. And sometimes you put some people, a group together, put this group together and they work together and then you figure out some things. That is, and that can be a business unto itself because people do that. They're
Mhm.
connectors, they're networkers. They get paid to connect and bring people together. That's what some consultants do. That's what some, people do in their lives. So that's part of it. But the bottom line is, Tommy, I just don't like working for anyone else, and I don't like getting fired.
Okay. All right. We're gonna get there.
I don't
We're
like
gonna get
getting
there.
laid off.
We gonna get there. So, because like you said, coming out of the NBA, now you already told us what happened with Polaroid. I mean, not that nobody couldn't see it coming, but you already told us what happened with
See,
Polaroid.
ain't that some shit? Ain't that some shit?
We can laugh about it now. It's years ago.
Yeah, ain't that
Anyway, but do you
Tommy? Always
think
got to be right.
do
Always.
you think do you think the corporate your corporate experience helped you prepare yourself to become a business owner?
Yes, but I had more experience working in government than I did in corporate America.
Okay.
Remember, so my first real job out of school, I was the youngest town clerk for town of Eatonville. Remember,
Mhm.
I was working
Yep.
for the town of Eatonville. Then I started my own business. I did that for a little bit, and then I started working for the state of Florida. While I was working for the state of Florida, I got my MBA. Left there, worked for Polaroid. I left Polaroid. I worked for a church, which is a nonprofit organization. Left
Mhm.
the church and I worked for the Commonwealth of Massachusetts for a number of years. And then after Massachusetts, working for the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, then I went into real estate. So basically, if you look at it, I've had more work with municipalities and state government than I did in corporate America.
Okay. Well, do you think the government work that I mean, it's not a
Yes,
corporation, but do you think that
yes.
prepared you to start the kind of business that you do right now?
Yeah, I think working with government taught me systems, understanding systems and how systems work, processes, and everything I did, I was doing projects. So basically, while I was working for the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, I earned my PNP, which is project management
Mhm.
designation, which is the
Mhm.
highest level of project management designation you can get, or certification, and most difficult to earn. Because I am a project manager. I mean, I know how to put things together. That's why I was good with putting together events. I'm good, good with connecting people. I'm very process driven. Well,
Mhm.
when I worked for the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, before I actually worked for the actual Commonwealth, I was I worked for chief of staff for about 6 months for Senator Diane Wilkerson. That taught me a lot about
Mm.
being able to connect with people and working and just being able to figure out problems on the fly and all that. And I was not really good at being a chief of staff because I had never worked in that field. I came into that position cold.
Mhm.
So, but I learned a lot by doing that. So, yes, and that prepared me for entrepreneurship as well. So, all those experiences have prepared me for entrepreneurship.
Okay. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Beck. I didn't mean to cut you off.
So let's look at it from this point. Morehouse taught me how to hustle and how to, and dream big. Kind of helped me, I kind of did that from high school, whatever, from growing up with my parents. UCF provided me with tools, and knowing how some of the technical tools, especially knowing how to manage a business, especially the financial side and all that. And then all the other experiences kind of really helped me with learning how to connect and solve problems as well. So all those kind of different skill sets rolled up helped me start my business.
Okay. Now, starting your bit. Well, first off, because we didn't even say it, tell people what you do now.
Right now, I have Hawthorne Property Management Group LLC, which is a property management company.
Okay.
So I manage other people's property.
Okay. Which is because when you were facilities or operations for the church, is
Yeah,
that what? Yeah.
yeah.
So did that kind of lend itself to what you do now? Okay. Okay.
Most definitely. I've always
Hmm.
been interested in real estate. And there was also a gentleman, Reuben Dodden, who was a great figure in the city of Cambridge.
Hmm.
He was from Barbados, and well, his parents were from Barbados, and he owned like a lot of real estate, quite a few, different properties in the city of Cambridge, and also in a little bit in Boston. And we became great friends when I was a member at Union Baptist Church. And he's
Okay.
also the one of my son's godfather. He taught me so much about real estate, the whole game, and everything. And while I was doing facilities management, working at St. Paul AME, which is basically across the street from Union, so I was a member at Union Baptist and working at St. Paul, and he would just tell me stories and just share a lot about managing properties.
Hmm. Okay.
So I learned a lot. So yeah, I just learned so much. I just like to sit and learn and listen to people. I adopt people as my mentors too.
Let's talk about that because I mean I ain't gonna lie. I mean you know this. I've always had a problem with authority. It's hard for me to listen. I ain't gonna lie. I have a problem
Mhm.
listening to people. Um, Tell me about mentors. How have the mentors through your life? I mean, and if you want to include, of course, our parents were our mentors as well, but if you want to include them as well, but kind of talk about how mentors through your life have shaped you to get you where you are.
So Tommy, like you, I'm probably not the best with authority either. And I can't say I've really had a consistent mentor throughout my life.
Mhm.
If I probably would have had one, the trajectory would have been much greater, I think.
Mhm.
Um, but no, but mentors are very good. It's great to have mentors because they can tell you and show you, provide you with context, especially with some of the things they've done. They can kind
Mhm.
of help lead you in the right direction and help you avoid many pitfalls.
Mhm.
Not to say that you're gonna stumble and you're gonna fall, and the key is to fall forward. So if
Mm.
you're gonna fall, don't fall backwards. The key is to always fall forward. And so mentors kind of provide you with that guidance and with that advice. It's almost like a consultant there to kind of help you navigate your career and your life. So that's one of the things that I would say John Jenkins did for me early on,
Mhm.
and now and he does now. So and but I don't lean on them the way I should, because sometimes as entrepreneurs or even as just as people, We are very reticent when it comes to asking people for help. Do
Mhm.
not be afraid to ask for help. My sons are much better at that than me, and
Mhm.
I wish I were more like my sons. They just quit. They'll call up someone and ask for help, or go to a professor or teacher, ask for help.
Mhm.
That's what you got to do. In order to make it, someone's going to have to help you. You know, and that's one of the things. It's Even if you're not a religious person, you're not grounded in some type of religion or whatever. I mean, the Bible, Jesus asked for help all the time. He always asked for his heavenly Father for help,
Mhm.
which through prayer, what have you, and meditation. Those are the things, so you should always ask for help. And those people are there, and most people are willing to give you all the help that you need
Mhm.
and guidance.
Now, and that's great. Like you said, I mean, at where I work at the insurance company I work at, it's a major insurance company, it's a large corporation. They uh require, well, not require, they ask you to get mentors. They ask you to reach out to people who've been at the company for years and years to help you, guide you up the ladder. No, I never did, but you know, I mean, I ain't gonna lie to you. And you gotta understand, a lot of the people that started this company, especially now, are much younger. I've
Mhm.
been there for 11 years, so I was already 42. I don't know, whatever. I can't count. I was already in my mid 40s when I started at the company. I'm probably not gonna ask too many people for stuff because I've already experienced a lot getting there. So that's probably why I really didn't do it. Maybe I should have, I don't know. But I have noticed some of these young cats that come in, like your sons, like there's a cat who came in, did his job, got mentors, and now he's about to be a team leader pretty quickly because he did that process. Great, happy for him. So it definitely does work, and it's definitely something that even if I didn't do it, it's something that I would tell my kid about. I would tell Trey, hey, when you get to wherever you're going, find somebody that's already been down the path, because dad may not have been down the path that you're trying to go down. Somebody that's already been down that path that can help you, such as a mentor.
Well, it starts way before then. I
Hmm.
mean, what I would say, Trey, make sure you raise your hand and ask questions of your teacher. That's
There you
where it
go. That's a
starts.
good one. That's definitely a good one. That's definitely a
Because
good one.
inquisitive minds, you learn a lot, by
Hmm.
asking questions. The more you ask, the more information you receive. So, and that's where it starts. It really starts, and when you start that habit at a young age, it kind of carries through.
Hmm.
And I don't think I really asked. I didn't. I was inquisitive, but I was scared to ask questions because I want people to think, oh, well, he might be stupid or something like that. And that's
Hmm.
a lot of times where we, get caught up, especially sometimes as men, black men. We don't always want to ask for help, and we should
Hmm.
always ask for help. We should always search out mentors. Now, it's interesting that even as in my position as president of our alumni association here for
Hmm.
Morehouse. I'm on the campus a lot, and so I've quite a few young men have adopted me as their mentor. So
Okay.
when they have questions or they want something, they call me up and they're like, "Mr. Baker, whatever," and I'm there, and it's surprising the number of guys who just call me up and ask, "Well, okay, what do I think about this?" And I'm like, "Damn, they asking me." They really want my
You
information.
became the old. Hey, we both became the old man. Yeah,
Yeah,
became.
yeah,
Yeah, because
the
I
old
get the
man.
same thing at my company. I get IMs. People, hey Tom, you got a second? Try to help me with something. I get that a lot, which I don't mind doing it because I actually enjoy doing that.
Yeah,
But yeah, it is kind of like, damn. I went when I started. I ain't know nothing. Now I guess I know everything.
right. But the thing is, even though if you don't know, you know someone who does, so you can always point them in the right direction, which
Mm-hmm.
is again, that's the equation, the problem solving of it. And you're
Mm-hmm.
teaching them how to problem solve.
Mm-hmm.
You're showing them the ropes by doing that.
And actually, I had to stop myself because Trey is at that age where everything is why, why. And I mean, I ain't gonna lie. I was like, you stop saying why, please, son. But I had to say, I had to kind of, I'm catching myself on that because you're right. I need to let him ask questions because I want him to not feel like he shouldn't ask questions. So, I appreciate that little note you gave me. Look, you mentoring me because your kids are much older than mine, so you my parent mentor. Um,
Well, what's interesting about that is that I have contemporaries who I look at as mentors as well.
hmm
I'm in different groups that allow me to be around captains or of industry, and that's dope. And I look to them, and they don't even know it as mentors. I sit there and pick their brains and ask them about things. So it's
I
it's
gotcha.
it's awesome. Even some cats are even younger than me. Younger than
hmm
me. I pick their brain because they're just so successful. I have to.
Well, you go where the knowledge is, and that's
Yeah.
something that you probably learned as a highly educated young man that you go where the knowledge is.
Yeah, I learned that from Adele and Willie Baker.
I got you. You know what? I used to be because you talked about, you have siblings who've been to med school. And I mean, I have an older sister and I have a mom that was in education and I got a dad, but nobody was like, well, I guess my mom went to grad school, but Tom Mitchell Sr. didn't go to nobody's grad school.
Mhm.
Um, I was always jealous that your sisters were so much older, so you could talk to them, but it wasn't like talking to Adele. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? I was because I mean I could talk to Boosie, but she only 3 years ahead of me. All I could ask her was, "Hey, do you know how to get your locker combination at Winter Park High? Who do I talk to about this?" I
Yeah.
mean, that's all Boosie, kind of information she could probably give me. But I was jealous that you had the opportunity to talk to, even like we were looking at colleges. You had these older sisters that could at least talk to you about experiences in college. Bootsy, she could kind of, but not on the same way that I felt like your older sisters could talk to you about it. So I used to be jealous about that.
Yeah, my sibling, older brothers and sisters. The
hmm
youngest one next to me in my family is 15 years older than me. The the upside, yes, they're older, but they're not parents. The downside is they're old enough to be parents.
So they used to try to tell you stuff. They used to be like,
Yeah,
Vaughn.
no, 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 no. They wouldn't just come at me like that
hmm
until I was older. Once I
hmm
got like hit my 20s and 30s, they was coming at me like straight up parents almost.
hmm
At least, one of my sisters would, and the other one, they kind of would not really. But the thing is, I should have listened to them more. I
I
should have
think we
listened
all
to,
get there. I think
you
if
know,
one thing that I would say is a universal regret for people our age, why didn't we listen to people older that were telling us
exactly.
exactly what's about to happen? Like I'm
Mhm.
telling you, like they had a crystal ball. I'm telling you, my dad used to do it all the time. Tommy, I'm telling you, them little nigglets you hanging out with
Yeah,
gonna be in jail. You're not
yeah,
even gonna know them, and you worried about walking to school with them. I used to want to walk from my house to Winter Park Junior for some unknown reason. My dad would want to drive me, and I would
right.
tell him no. That's how dumb I am. That's how
Yeah,
stupid I was to walk
right.
with these kids. Now I'm not saying everybody I walk with is in jail. I mean, most of them are not, but I'm sure there's some that are. But that was
Mhm.
his point that you're not gonna know them. And you know who he used to say I'm gonna still know? Yo ass. He was like, you might still know Devon or Wilton. They call you Wilton.
That
You
Baker
might still
boy.
know Wilson. Yeah, that Baker boy. But these little kids that you feel like you got to walk with every day, you're not even gonna know them. And
Right.
he was right. And I mean, that's just a small point. But there were so many things my dad told me that I
Yeah,
just said, "Look, old man, you don't know what you're talking about. Things have changed."
right.
And I sit every day, even before I had my son. I used to sit and say to myself, "How am I going to convince my child that what I'm telling them is for their best interest?" It looks like Wilson listened because he seems to have turned out pretty good.
Yeah. So I
Now
mean,
he
it's still,
could be at Howard selling weed. I don't know, but
ab-
entrepreneur just like his daddy.
yeah, yeah. Well,
But my
apple don't
point
fall too.
is, he's doing his thing. So it sounds like, to a point, at least Wilson listened to his parents.
Well, one of the things that help is that he has, he's seen his father do a lot, as far as being
Mm-hmm.
a connector and doing those things. But he's also seen his mother do the same thing. And there was a
Mm-hmm.
balance between, sometimes of me yelling at him, getting on him, and then a mother who knows how to, rap to him and talk to him. And especially when he was in middle school and junior high, they're riding to school together every day because she was, an administrator at the
Uh-huh.
school,
Yeah.
and
Mhm.
and he got a great education, at Beaver Country Day School, which is an independent school. So,
Mhm.
I mean, and I also knew that, okay, I knew how we were, how I was as a teenager.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I Lord, I'm like, nobody owes me anything. And I'm like, if usually your kids can be 3 times worse than you. And I was
Mhm.
preparing for that, and he wasn't. Um, but I also gave him the freedom to kind of just
Mhm.
do and be what he wanted to be. Some,
Mhm.
you learn from one generation to the next. I was still gonna be hard on his ass now, straight up.
Mhm.
Now he got some whoopings,
Mm. Mhm.
I could have probably gone to jail just because of how the laws and everything are set up now.
Mhm.
Because I mean, but at the same time, I also was there to tell him and talk to him, say, listen, this is why you're getting this, and we're gonna talk about it and explain some things. And I think that really helped because we have conversations.
Yeah. Yeah.
We have conversations.
Well, and Wilson kind of ties into this because I'm gonna ask you a question. Because this
Yep.
this conversation is kind of like, hey, I mean, you told us, you kind of Florida pretty much paid for your MBA, my tax dollars pretty much paid for your
You
MBA, and
weren't
then you
you
took
you 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 wasn't there at the time. Your tax dollars didn't pay for shit.
my tag was still a Florida tag, so it was still part of my $11 that I sent in for
You
my
was
Florida
living at
tax.
you was living in Atlanta.
No, at that point was I
You
in
was living in
Atlanta?
Atlanta. You was in Atlanta.
Okay, I was in Atlanta, but I'm
Yeah.
pretty sure I still have Florida tags. So part of my tax dollars pay for my Florida tag, help pay for your MBA. Don't tell me I didn't help. So
Well, I appreciate your contribution to my MBA. Since you want to claim it, damn right. All right, bro. Thank you
anyway,
very much.
there you go. Thank you. I appreciate that. I appreciate that.
Mhm.
But because our conversation is kind of about, what I like to talk about is, you have a higher education, you have an undergrad degree, you have an MBA, and now you're an entrepreneur. And our conversation was kind of like, hey, was it worth it? Basically, talking to you, I think you feel like it was. Like, you don't feel like you could have just left Edgewater High School and just gone into entrepreneurship without the backup of Morehouse College or the backup of the UCF MBA. Am I getting? Am I
Yes,
correct?
that's just for me. As for
Mm-hmm.
me
Mm-hmm.
individually, yes, for me.
Now, let's say Wilson, actually, he still could do it. Before he got into, before he went to Howard, he would have said, because if y'all don't know, Wilson, he wants, and I'm not using this derogatory, I'm just using it as that's what people call it. He wants a dream career. He wants a career in entertainment. That's what we call a dream or passion career.
Hmm.
What if he would have said, look, you told me the other day, hey, Dad, I got my dancing down. I can go Broadway right now. I don't want to go to Howard. I don't want to go to, Michigan or the other places, that he got into. I don't want to go to NYU. I want to go to New York and I want to start auditioning.
Yep.
What does Dad Baker say?
Well, you know what? I say go for it.
Is that what
Yes.
you would have told him?
Yeah, I mean, because hell, he had a full ride at Morehouse. He went to Howard. He told me, and I was, I was butthurt about that, you know, because I was like,
Did
well,
you
you
really
could
think he was going to go to your alma mater though? Really?
probably not, but
I
but
mean,
no, no, no.
it's the same reason I didn't go to Bethune Cookman.
Well, no, no, no. He said, I would have all the advantages at Morehouse. It's just that they didn't have my major, and he was like, I'm not trying to work to put my major together when all these other schools that are great
Already
already
got it.
have it, already
Mhm.
got it. So why I'm work hard here, even though, yeah, yeah, I know I might have a full ride or whatever, but so I had to, because this is not my dream.
Mhm.
I pursued my dream. I sacrificed a lot to go after what I wanted to go after. So
Mhm.
from that, I cannot stop him from pursuing what he wants to pursue. So if he wanted to go to Broadway, and his dance instructors and all that were like, he's good enough to go do that now. I am very happy that he's going to Howard because he can get that experience of being at HBCU and
Mhm.
learn more about himself, and just be in a place where he can just be, where
Mhm.
he don't have to put on any airs, do anything. he can just be a 19-year-old black man. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And not worry about anything else. That's what I wanted for him. Now, if he were to tell me now that, you know what, I think I'm ready. I want to go to Broad, try to
I
audition,
want to
do
go
whatever.
pro, Dad. I want to go
Uh,
pro.
I want to go pro. I'm like, well, cool. But your dad's not independently wealthy, so your ass got to figure this shit out.
You
And
got you got a problem solve, Wilson.
yeah, and he got to figure this shit out. And I'm sure he would be able to do it.
Gotcha. Gotcha. So, I mean, and I get you. You feel like Wilson is prepared to do it without the formal education, without having to go to English Lit, without having to go into history class to go pro. Whereas you felt yourself, and I mean, I was your friend at that time period. I'm with you. I don't think either one of us were prepared to do anything coming out of high school except go to Daytona Beach and catch
And
buses.
party. Oh, that's an inside joke. Oh boy,
That's
catch
about
buses.
all we were qualified to do
Yeah.
when I left Winter Park High and you left Edgewater.
Actually,
So,
though, Tommy,
mhm.
I think, given your talents and my talents, if we were really serious, we probably could have started something and been hell of great at it.
Dude,
I still think about that, to this day. I'm like, I know we could find something. And if we really were to, put it together, we would be very successful.
we did not. Well, and I mean, I don't. And once, and this is, and you about to really hear some old man therapy. We did not have access to the things that children do now. Like, we couldn't just go to a computer in 1986 and put in, "I want to be whatever," and it kick out the things that you need to do to be that thing. I want to start a business, and how do I do it? Now kids can Google that. Shoot, they can go to GPT, they can go to AI, and it'll
We
tell
did
them
have that.
exactly.
We did have that.
What do we have? A
A li
library,
a library.
dude.
My mom was a librarian,
I
you know,
understand that,
and so
but
research,
mhm.
that's how you do it. You go through and you do
Dude, we
research.
had a you remember how many books my mom had at the house? That's what I used to do. I used to go.
Right.
Now I would have to go to the library to get that big college book, or I go to Walden Books and I just look at theirs. But I
Mhm.
go get that big college book, and that's how I researched colleges. Now all I was looking at was the men to women ratio. Is honestly all I ever really looked at. Okay, 12-1. I got to be able to get a girlfriend at this spot. But you're right. We were not as serious, but I think we were not as serious because we we didn't have access to podcasts. I
Well,
listen to podcasts all the time, and I learned so much. I can't imagine if I would have had access to that kind of information that easily, where I didn't have to actually go look it up, go to the card catalog, didn't have to do anything. I just turned on a computer. I just turned on my phone, and that information rolled out to me. I actually wanted to be a director. That's really what I wanted to do. But let me tell you something. Unlike you, Devon, Tom Mitchell Sr. was not about the passion project. He was like, yeah, bruh, you need a job. It's what you need to direct your ass to the employment line and get a job. I don't want to hear anything else about
what do
directing.
you mean what do you mean unlike me? I mean, my
Well,
my
like
my folks.
you were telling Wilson, well, hypothetically, we're telling Wilson, if you want to go pro, you can go pro. Dad was not hearing it. And you would have supported his now financially, how much you would have supported him, I don't know. But you would have supported his move to do it. My dad was not hearing that. He was all about, look, put a suit on, you can come sell these cars with me. So that's kind of what I did. But anyway, I just feel like kids have opportunities that we did not. And I'm not crying in my beer about it. I'm just saying they do.
So
And if we
Tommy,
would have had it, I think maybe we would have been able to move forward in that direction a lot sooner than we did before. Also, I think we had dreams of HBCUs in our head.
yeah, yeah. I mean, we grew up going to the Florida Classic, so
Yeah.
we always we took risks, But I think
Mhm.
more important than what you're speaking of or what you're talking to is exposure.
Yes. Okay.
When growing up in the '80s in Central Florida, most of our parents were educators. Number one,
Mhm.
most of our friends, everybody we knew, their parents were mostly educators, right?
Mhm.
Other than that, we might have had a friend here or there who might have been a lawmaker, like Mr. Page. He was the first Black City Council,
Mhm.
or they were lawyers or doctors. So
True.
and so we didn't know, and some we knew some people probably worked in business, like they might have worked for Disney or something like that, whatever.
Yeah.
We didn't know a lot of entrepreneurs, even though I did know entrepreneurs. Now, when I started thinking about it, and they had some smaller businesses or whatever,
Dude,
we
go
had
down
we
Church Street, you could find 10 entrepreneurs just walking down the street. The
right
barbecue spot,
the
the
barbecue
diner,
spot, the diner,
eh,
but we never looked at them as entrepreneurs.
they were just
Uh,
people our family knew.
yeah, people our
Yeah.
family knew, and they had a business or whatever, and
Yeah.
so we were exposed, but we didn't really pay attention to those things as much. Yeah, I mean, so I think that it's also more so about exposure, you know.
Mm.
And and when I got to Morehouse, I was just really exposed. I was like, damn, okay. So the president of Bronner Brothers, his son or whatever, these companies, I'm like, damn,
Mhm.
okay. I didn't know that, who ran, and their kids are at Morehouse with me, or their daughter at Spelman or
Mhm.
what have you. I was exposed to so much more. I didn't know nothing about, whatever. And what's
Mhm.
interesting is, and I probably would have gone into this business if I would have been my godfather, Clyde Dabney ran one of the
Mhm.
largest funeral home businesses in the state of Florida.
And that's
And
and that's crazy good business. Crazy good.
and one of our homeboys has one of the larger funeral home businesses in Philadelphia. And
Mm.
when he got to Morehouse, because he came to Morehouse much older than me, but he was from Florida, and he knew that that's what he wanted to be, a funeral home director. And I'm
Mhm.
like, oh yeah. I'm like, yeah. And my mom was in that business too, because she worked for my godfather. Her first
Okay.
degree was in mortuary science.
Really?
Yeah, so she worked in that for a while.
Mhm.
And then she went back to school to FAMU to get her degree in library science. So it's
Mhm.
like, I was exposed, but I never really paid attention to it, because I
Yeah.
would have definitely probably gotten into that. So because I like business. I like meeting people. I like
Mhm.
talking to people.
Mhm.
And that's also that's a people business.
Definitely. Definitely a peaceful business. Well, and I mean, we've kind of, I mean, we've stayed on topic, gotten off topic a little bit, but in the end, I just want to hit some key takeaways from this, and I'm gonna talk to you about it. Um, the importance of a formal education is in business for a solid foundation. Would you agree with me based on what you're saying? You feel like your degrees gave you the foundation you needed to kind of do whatever you wanted to do. Gave you options. Let me put it that way. Gave you
Yes.
options.
So having a degree helps with your critical thinking. More than
Mhm.
anything, it helps with really learning how to think critically. And when you're in business, and it also, having a degree in business specifically, helps you to watch the money. A lot of these athletes or whomever who aren't in business, they don't understand how to watch and balance a
Mhm.
checkbook, or balance, their bank accounts, or understand the credits and debits when it comes to their accounting and all that. At
Mhm.
least in business, you have that basic knowledge and understanding. And that's very key, because when your accountant is telling you that you need to do XYZ, you understand why you need to do XYZ, or you're like, nah, fool, we ain't doing that. Nah, player, you ain't about to take my money and go over here.
Mhm.
So it's all about critical thinking and understanding how to count that money that's in your bank account, and making sure it's there, and how to keep it there. Those that's really basic. And once you have those basic principles, then everything else, you can find other people to do other things. And to me, it's always, and I learned this from reading books like From Good to Great and
Mhm.
Think and Grow Rich.
Mhm.
Hire the best talent. You got to find the best talent to work with you. You can't do it all yourself. Everybody say, when people say, well, I pulled myself up from my bootstrap. No, you did.
Mm-mm.
There's always someone there to help you.
Yeah.
It's and especially, I when you see these people are able to get loans, or someone is investing in their business, or what have you. and you're manifesting these things. You're always thinking really hard about what I need to do, what I need to receive. And a lot of times, people and things come into your life because you just actually manifested it, but now how do you manage it? And so you have to be able to manage everything that come into your sphere. And I think that's what helped me, when it came to my MBA, and Morehouse, understanding how to think critically, how to manage, like I said, because it's all solving problems.
Well, I'll say this. I will say this. Um, when I was looking for people to bring on the show to interview, and I would see these black businesses, and I'm like, oh, I'll start researching the founders and stuff like that. Dude, it's a whole lot of y'all out there, Morehouse grads. It's a whole lot of y'all out there doing it. Because I mean, at least if not both of the founders of so many of these companies was a Morehouse grad, like undergrad Morehouse, undergrad Morehouse. I was like, wow. So I'm a, I've never taken a class at Morehouse, but I'm assuming that's something that they try to instill in you is ownership at Morehouse.
Well, for a perfect example, one of the guys we grew up with, we known Ernest Page, right?
Mm-hmm.
So he went to Morehouse undergrad, and he always had this in him because of his parents too. Um, Went to Morehouse undergrad, biology, a pre-med major, whatever. Went to Meharry, becomes a emergency medical physician.
Mm-hmm.
He ends up being the second in charge of the second largest emergency medical group in the state of Florida.
Mm-hmm.
So he's running this business.
Mm-hmm.
And now he also has, investments and ventures and so many different things. He, so many different investments, whether it be real estate, whether it be in some type of education type thing. He has some. He's a big time entrepreneur. I
Mm-hmm.
see that across the board everywhere at Morehouse. I mean, everybody wants to kind of do their own thing. I see pastors who had. We was talking to Willie Bodger.
Reverend, yeah, yeah. Reverend Bodrick. Uh-huh.
He's not a Morehouse guy, but his brother's a Morehouse guy. They have their
Mm-hmm.
own development company. And, it's like, and in Atlanta, you just got to think about the entrepreneurial spirit in Atlanta. I mean, so
Mm-hmm.
you're exposed to so much,
Mm-hmm.
and so that's why, it's iron sharpens iron. So just to be in the city of Atlanta, seeing all these black people kind of running and doing their own thing really inspires you, no matter what field of human endeavor you decide to go into. So whether it be religion, ministry, business, where you want to be a professor or, whatever, engineering, STEMs, a lot of people, and then you see that's at Spelman as well. You see it at Clark Atlanta University. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, in the AUC, all these people are doing their own thing, and so it's really it's awesome, and there's a lot of exposure to that. So I was exposed greatly to just doing my own thing.
Now let's flip it, cause and you could probably speak to this better than I can, cause I don't have any kids in college. The price of higher education has gone through the roof. Reverend Bodrick said the same thing. He was a Georgetown grad, and he talked about how much it costs to go to Georgetown now. He's like, it's crazy. The
Yeah,
price of higher
90,000.
education, yeah, it's the price of higher education has gone through the roof. Is it worth it? Do we does it should it I this is what I used to always say as being in somebody. I don't have a finance degree, but I've been in mortgages. I've been around money enough to know the different businesses I've dealt with. You don't invest in stuff. You don't take loans out on things that don't appreciate in value. You don't want, even though we do, we take out loans to get our cars, and by the time you finish paying for it, the car worth 1,000, you done paid 50,000 for it. By the time you finish paying for it, I mean, I'm exaggerating, but houses supposed to go up in value. You take a loan out. Education, same thing. You can take a loan out because your education from Morehouse probably was worth, I don't know how much you paid. You think in 4 years at Morehouse? How much you think you paid?
A total of $40,000
$40,000
at the most. At the most,
at the most. How much you think it costs to go to Morehouse for 4 years now?
Oh, yeah, so Morehouse is hovering around that 60,000. So, that you're gonna be paying at least $300,000 to go to Morehouse now.
So your education is now worth what? What did you just say?
About 300,000,
Three hundred thousand dollars.
3 to 400,000,
You
yeah.
invested 40,000. Now your Morehouse education is worth $300,000. That's going up in value, right?
Mhm.
So that's something you take a loan out in. Do you take a $300,000 loan out to send your kid to Morehouse for 4 years? That's a house in Atlanta
I
suburbs.
mean, well, you gotta understand that's what I'm doing with Howard right now.
I'm
I mean,
sure. And
although
Howard was cheaper than Morehouse when we were going to school.
it wasn't, they
Yeah, it
couldn't have
was.
been
Dude,
cheaper.
the time I was at Howard, I paid for that myself. I paid them loans off. And Tom and Hattie were not trying to pay for Howard. They were like, "You want to stay at Hampton? Fine. But you want to go to Howard? Have a good time."
So, so the way I look at it is, let's use the car analogy.
Mhm.
I don't really look at appreciation as much because appreciation is great. You can always things might appreciate, but the real key is what's your return on your investment.
Okay.
So the return on investment also means it says um, what type of income is coming in or cash flows are coming in due to your investment. So if I go to school and I'm paying and so with the car, I have a truck. That
Yeah.
truck is gonna depreciate, but
Mhm.
I have a truck for my business.
Mhm.
So having a truck is gonna make sure I receiving a certain type of revenue, then I'm looking at what's the return on that investment. So
Okay.
it's 2 things what you can look at when it comes to your investment. It looks at, the cash value or appreciation,
Mhm.
your cash on cash return, and just basically your return on the investment. So I I look at college or getting a degree depending on what you want to do. And it really is by individual case. What is your return on your investment? So you have to determine what your return might look like.
Mhm.
So cash flows not might be the thing for you. That
Mhm.
might be not be how you measure it. It might just be the knowledge. The knowledge might be your cash flow
Mhm.
and what you're getting out of it. It could be, yeah, the skills that you get and how you use those skills. Because the thing is that and we need more educators, right?
Mhm.
I would not tell you cannot be an educator without going to school.
True.
You have to have a college degree. So now they don't make as much as someone who might be an engineering major, and once they come out, they're going to make six figures off the bat.
Mhm.
So is their return on investment a lot less? No, because they're helping and they're shaping the minds of future leaders and what have you. Just because they're in the education field, they're as valuable as someone who is an engineer, or someone who is a police officer, or someone who's doing something else. So it's worth it. So you have to look at it for almost a case by case, excuse me, a case by case individual basis, because some careers they're just not designed to pay you a lot of money. They're not, but you still
Mhm.
have to have a degree to do it.
I was listening to a podcast. You ever heard of I think his name is Shetty? He's Indian. Well, he's British, but
Mhm.
his family's from India, I guess. But he did a interview with a gentleman, and basically what the guy said was, "Stop listening to people who tell you to find your passion." He said, "Don't do
Mhm.
that. It's about work. You want to you and when you're young and you are healthy enough and you don't need as much sleep as you do as you get older, just put the hours in at whatever
Mhm.
talent you have, because that's what's going to let you live the way you want to one day. And stop buying things that make you look rich, so that one day you can be wealthy."
Exactly. That's
So,
I
and
believe in
you just
that.
made me think of it when you were what you were just saying. But anyway, and people who, if you didn't notice, when Devon was breaking it down, return on investment, it's called college. It's called college, people.
Yeah.
You don't get that hanging on the corner. No, you don't pick that up there. You get that from going to school and getting an education. But Devon, dude, as always, you've given us a lot of information. You've educated our audience. I hope people take in what you have said. And like you said, it's an individual thing.
Yeah.
I can talk as much craziness as I want to, but Jasmine Mitchell and Trey Mitchell will have some form of education, or they will be washing cars because they won't be living here. Um, because I do still believe, regardless of the price, that it is the best way to give yourself the most options to do what you want to do.
Well, I think also, but it's not about just the education
Mm-hmm.
as far as the formal education, the classroom education. It's the
Mm-hmm.
it's the education outside the class, the
True.
people you meet.
Mm-hmm.
I develop a very strong net. Going to Morehouse, that's my network. That's a hell of a network.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't have had that network at University of Florida. I had different network, but
Yeah.
I wouldn't have all the connections that I have by
Well,
being at Morehouse.
Bake, I
You
mean,
know,
at being who you are, you could have gone to Valencia Community College. You would have still had the connections because that's just who you are. You are a person that makes connections.
but I wouldn't have had as many as I would being at Morehouse, though. That's what I'm saying. I wouldn't have the connections I would have had. I had connections at Clark Atlanta University,
Mm-hmm.
Spelman, Morehouse, and then just the city of Atlanta. I mean, and then I did make some connections at UCF, but those connections aren't the same and lifelong as I did when I was in undergrad. I'm telling you that those connections, those networks have benefited me so much. You know, just like being in the fraternity, that helped out as well.
Mm-hmm.
It's just that, and you're right. You know, some people when they told us for my freshman year when we were sitting in the seats, they said, "Don't just go through Morehouse, let Morehouse go through you."
Mm.
I took that seriously. And that's why I was in the glee club and I did certain things. And I did all that. I mean, I had, connection. I mean, my life at Morehouse. I mean, remember, I was on the Cosby show. I was saying I was on the soundtrack for School Days. I mean, it
The
was
experiences that you had were incredible.
they were priceless.
Yeah.
And I learned a lot just by being in those spaces.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I was able by being in the Glee Club and singing and what have you, having that training, I was able to help Wilson and help him understand you know, what it means to really have a strong vocal,
Mm-hmm.
your voice being strong and whatnot. Even though I wasn't the best singer, but I understand it. So I just have so many different life experience. My life experience has been extremely eclectic, which I think most people, when you really break it down, yes, it is eclectic.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what we are. Your life experiences have been so eclectic, and the way you live and the way you move has affected me and inspired me. So it's like, yes, going to college is great, and I love it, and all the networks and the people you can meet, and you can do that outside of being in college.
You can. You're right. You're right. There's ways to do it, especially if you got, some kind of mentor that
Yep.
can guide you. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm sure I know enough
Yeah.
people if I really wanted to, I could just say, hey, when Trey turns, 16 or is ready to graduate high school, I can be like, hey, what do you want to do? Let me let you talk to somebody and see
Right.
if you really need to go because he's going to a state school. See if you really need to go, to Georgia State, or
Mhm.
can you just go pro? But anyway, Bake, once again, great conversation. I hope our audience took it in. I hope they took a lot out from it. Um, we gonna keep moving on with this old man therapy because trust me, bro, when I get to talk to you, that's what this is for me.
Oh,
Talking to you, interviewing these people, it's therapy for me. It gives me a minute because I don't know if you remember what it was like to have young kids, but your whole life is pretty much around them, and you don't really get to talk to adults that often. So it's great to talk to you, man.
yeah, you wait till you was an old ass man to have kids.
I did, and honestly, you know what? I did not think it was that big because, like, when he was really young, I was like, I got this. What? This is what? What are they talking about? It's now that's really hitting me because it's Trey don't want to just like I can't just here's your switch. No, Dad, I need you to come with me to do
Right,
this. I want
right.
you to, and that's what's hitting me. Like I'm
Yeah,
like that's why I do. That's why I had to train for a marathon so I get back in shape because I ain't about to let that little boy beat me. He think he can outrun me already. He's like, oh, I'm faster than you, Dad. Okay, let's
Yeah.
let Dad
And
get this.
he is. And he
No,
is.
he is not. He is
Yes,
not.
he is.
Everybody, okay, y'all.
He'll
Look,
give him
don't
about
call
3
it.
more
Don't
years.
call him don't call it a comeback. I've been here for years.
3
Y'all ain't
years.
taking me down like that.
In 3 years, he'll be outrunning you because my
It
dad was
might be
around.
sooner than that, boy. Let me
Yeah,
tell you
yeah,
something. That
yeah,
little boy can scoot.
yeah. I was outrunning my dad, my old ass dad. You was outrunning your old ass dad. Your
Well,
dad wasn't out there running.
our dad. Well, damn. You know what I was about to say? What my dad was in his 60s. Damn, I'm gonna be in my.
Exactly. Yeah.
All right, man. We younger, but we're younger old. We younger old than our parents were. I feel like we're in better shape than our parents were at this point.
Possibly.
Maybe, maybe
Yes.
not.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
All
yeah,
right, bro.
yeah.
All right, bro. All right, bro.
Okay.
Let's do this. All right. Great speaking with you, Bake. Great information. Hey, before we go, just tell them real quick how they can get in touch with you if they need to.
Oh man, you can get in touch with me. My email is hpropmgt@gmail.com. Um, man, I forgot my email. I mean my hey, they can email me. I forgot all my handles. I don't know all my handles.
That's fine.
What they can reach
That's
me.
fine. He's in the
Oh my
Boston area,
God.
y'all. You
I'm in
need
the
some
Boston
property
area.
management. He's in the Boston area. Good seeing you, bro.
Hey, same here, bro.
Peace.